I remember back in like 2010 to maybe 2015, zombies were like all the craze with things like The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead game, World War Z, Warm Bodies, The Last of Us, Dead Island, Call of Duty Zombies, 𝓤𝓆𝓆 𝓤𝓸𝓬𝓸𝓼, Zombieland, Left 4 Dead 2. If you were a big CEO man that wanted a game or movie to sell, you just had to make it either some like cheeky comedy about zombies or like this gritty drama following a hardened adult male in a zombie apocalypse. BL, however, seems to have a different trend in regards to its undead men. If you're not thinly veiled guru porn, you're an excuse for author someone to unleash all the edge that'd feel right at home in an issue of Crossed. Just gayer. If you're not Garth Ennis torture porn, you're an angsty drama. While reading Living Dead, I had a bit of a like come to Jesus moment where I realized I'm actually kind of a fan of 𝓤𝓸𝓬𝓸𝓼's works. Usually 𝓤𝓸𝓬𝓸𝓬𝓸𝓬𝓸 goes for the like main love interest is probably an incel or has some flavor of mental illness that's a bit too spicy for the regular reader, who meets like this normal himbo popular nice guy that's really empty or like dead inside. Living Dead doesn't actually stray from that formula that much, but it's definitely more of a bittersweet romance compared to a lot of BL. The story follows 𝓤𝓸𝓬𝓸𝓬𝓸, a well-liked high school teacher who witnesses one of his students being brutally murdered late at night. He soon is attacked by the assailant and presumably dies, only to awaken in a man by the name of Mamiya's lab. Reading this, I for some reason got like Reanimator vibes. I know Brain Dead would make more sense because of the fucking monkeys, but I don't know. You got the weird, probably an incel mad scientist remorselessly killing like small animals to test the effects of the reanimation serum or repurposed cells. The revival of a love interest only for it to go horribly wrong. I know, like I'm already mad fucking reaching, but the connections are still like kind of there. You just kind of squint a little bit, a little tiny bit. But back to Living Dead. It's relatively short, being only 12 chapters long. The art is simple but easy to follow, and the story itself is pretty dark, as is true with a lot of 𝓤𝓸𝓬𝓸𝓬𝓸's works. The overarching theme it explores is what it means to live. Seiji is sort of like a manic pixie dream girl to Mamiya, in the sense that he shows him bits and pieces of what life offered if he'd only expanded his horizons and reached out to the world around him. Both characters play with the idea of regret and living with the consequences of others' actions. Like I said, it's really bittersweet. Mamiya is not a likable person by any means. I actually kind of fucking dislike this little incel, but I did say this was a bittersweet story. 𝓤𝓸𝓬𝓸𝓬𝓸's works always tend to be very out there in terms of premise, and the characters can be found on a sliding scale of certifiably an incel, relatively normal, to absolutely fucking insane. And it's great, I like it. But if you're the kind of person that likes things to be more paint by the numbers, very fluffy and lighthearted, you probably won't like Living Dead. If you're somebody that likes a light, overarching mystery, a mature yet bittersweet story with a slice of weirdness / horror and a dash of edge sprinkled in, I would recommend Living Dead. If you're like, I can't do blood, I can't do horror, I can't do baby's first gore, that shit grosses me out, bro, I would probably skip Living Dead. It's not quite on the level of something like Mai-chan's Daily Life or My Home Hero, but it's still pretty graphic. Thankfully, if you are squeamish, the other mangas I'll be discussing are very like gore light. There's not a lot of money shots, and anytime they are shown, it's either censored or given a wide shot so only silhouettes can be seen. If you're hoping for like fucked up gore porn involving zombies, sadly I am not your girl for that. No, no, no. The second series we'll be looking at is BL of the Dead. Look, I know the cover already screams like, I'm not reading this in public, but I can assure you this isn't straight up gay porn with a zombie flavoring. There are some spicy scenes happening, but all of it is quickly faded to black. This is less BL of the dead in the traditional sense and more shonen AI of the dead. Hand-holding, kissing, biting, and zombie turning, but nothing too unchristianly in these mangas. BL of the Dead is an anthology series that perfectly captures exactly what I was talking about. The first 3 stories are pure ink/drama porn. The 4th story, Dead Love Alive, I actually respect because it said fuck you to that man being mortal, where the male love interest is actually a gross fucking zombie. If you want melodramatic fluff stories about undead or surviving the zombie apocalypse with the constant theme being I couldn't live without you, then I recommend BL of the Dead. My main issues with this anthology series is that the art isn't super great for a majority of them, to the point where some panels are hard to read because of how scratchy everything looks, and a lot of stories blur together and are pretty samey, or there's like a quarter of a story to tell. But then again, it's an anthology series, like what the fuck are you expecting? Out of the 8 from the anthology, my favorites were Zombie Cycle, Dead Love Alive, and The Last Human. Zombie Cycle has easily some of the better art of the 8 and ends on a bittersweet note that I think nicely wraps up the anthology series. Dead Love Alive I mostly enjoyed because it was a nice play on your expectations, and the story is just paint by the numbers sweet. If you can stand an ugly protagonist and like fluffy horror, then I definitely recommend checking it out. The Last Human I mostly enjoyed because it gave indie comic vibes, this idea of the only living survivor out in some compound meeting the only one who's immune to the disease. It's an interesting setup, and had this been a mini-serial, I would have read it for the Last of Us vibes. Overall, the anthology has a sort of melancholic feel to it, with an overarching theme of I can't live without you, mutual destruction, and love prevailing in even the most hopeless of situations. Very angsty, very melodramatic. But for an anthology series where the theme is undead, I can't say I'd expect any less. For ending this video on a one-shot, I really wish was at least 1 to 2 volumes. It's about 2 boys who are surviving the zombie apocalypse. Now, this particular author seems to really love the stoic loner archetype meets the airheaded blonde himbo golden retriever-esque love interest, who also happens to be super straight. And here, it's really not that different. The art is simple but easy enough to follow. Just like in Living Dead, things end more on a bitter note than bittersweet like in BL of the Dead. It's the story of a broken relationship born in the ruins of the world, and I loved it. I'd say if you liked the hopeless feel of The Walking Dead, you honestly might enjoy Urashiki Shuen, but its short runtime might leave you wanting for more. If you're the kind of person that likes a slow burn romance and hates tropes like, you're nice to me one time in high school, I would stay away.
Got ketchup all over my dress.